Hello and welcome to the patch 1.0.5 defensive bonuses and monster damage preview. Blizzard is seeking to make defensive skills feel less mandatory because currently in Inferno, with high incoming damage and powerful defensive skills, it is one of the best and easiest ways to survive that difficulty level. To counter the current design, Blizzard is 1. Reducing the effectiveness of select defensive skills, 2. Reducing the monster damage by more than the mitigation lost by reducing these defensive skills. Putting these together, players will actually be taking less damage overall than they currently are. Just to recap, Blizzard's goal is to simultaneously nerf defensive skills and monster damage so that if a player is using the same defensive skills in patch 1.0.5, they should be taking less overall damage. By buffing player survivability, Blizzard is hoping that players will use less defensive skills, which will promote build diversity. And we all know Blizzard is really big on having lots of different builds. Blizzard also points out that certain character classes, like Demon Hunters, lack powerful defensive skills, which makes the game feel unbalanced in terms of survivability. Two examples of positive defensive skills that makes the game feel a little unbalanced are Energy Armor and Warcry. They are both heavily used in Inferno difficulty. The current plan is to reduce Energy Armor's armor bonus from 65% to 35% and the resistance bonus reduced from 40% to 25%. The article then goes into some math to show that monster damage must be reduced by at least 21% to balance out the nerf to Energy Armor. With this change, Blizzard is hoping that other armor skills, like Storm Armor, will become more attractive since they are offensive-orientated skills. The next example is Warcry with the Ruin Impunity. The resistance bonus will be reduced from 50% to 20%. Doing the math, it shows that monster damage must be reduced by at least 16% in order to balance out the nerf to Warcry Impunity. At this point in the article, Blizzard reveals that they will be reducing monster damage by 25% in Inferno difficulty. Here is a quick look at changes coming to each character class. For Barbarians, Warcry Impunity's resistance bonus will be reduced from 50% to 20%. Leap, with the Ruin Iron Impact, has been redesigned. It will now provide 100% armor bonus per hit. So if you leap in and you hit 5 targets, you will gain 500% armor bonus. This change will allow players to jump into the thick of things and play like a barbarian in the movies. For defensive-minded barbs, Ignore Pain is still a viable skill. For the Monk class, the skill One with Everything has not been changed. It is the strongest Monk defensive skill, but it is very gear dependent. Blizzard wants to take more time thinking about how to change the skill without invalidating the existing Monk's gear. The skill Resolve's damage reduction bonus will be reduced from 25% to 20%. Seize the Initiative skill will be changed to grant 50% of your dexterity as armor. Blizzard estimates that this will result in 750 to 1250 more armor for most monks. If you're seeking to build a tanky monk, taking all these skills will be very effective, but the goal here is to make offensive-orientated monks more viable in Inferno. Demon Hunters are going to receive a lot of changes. One of the common builds is to use Shadow Power with Gloom and equip a Legacy Natalia set to give you 65% damage reductions at almost all times. This is a very gear-based build. To alter this build, Blizzard has decided to change Shadow Power from 20% lifesteal for 3 seconds to 15% lifesteal for 5 seconds. In theory, you should see a modest buff to this skill. Other skills like Blood Moon will receive similar changes. It will go from 30% lifesteal for 3 seconds to 25% lifesteal for 5 seconds. The skill Gloom will also get 35% damage reduction for 5 seconds. Blizzard recognizes that Demon Hunters lack defensive skill options. To promote build diversity, Blizzard will be adjusting ruins and passives to promote increased survivability. These adjustments will scale to life, armor, and resistance. Demon Hunter pets will now be changed so that they can tank, similar to the Witch Doctor's Gargantuan and Zombie Dogs. Lastly, and my favorite, Sentries will now have a short cooldown, but you will be able to drop 2 of these down at one time. If you get Custom Engineering passive, you will be allowed to drop 3 down at one time. Back in the Diablo 2 days, I enjoy building a trap assassin. This kind of reminds me of that build. It looks like witch doctors will only be getting one change. Jungle Fortitude's damage reduction bonus will go from 20% to 15%. For the wizard class, energy armor's armor bonus will be reduced from 65 to 35%. The resistance bonus will go from 40% to 25%. Blizzard is also going to be adding a flat melee damage reduction to ice armor and to alter the familiar skill to have passive life regen. I guess my only question to this change is that why did they choose a flat melee damage reduction? Everything else has been percentage based so far. It would have to be a really good flat rate for me to want to use it and not to have a skill that can scale with my gear. So to summarize the article, Blizzard is nerfing Inferno so that defensive skills are not absolutely necessary to survive. To push players away from defensive skills, they are also nerfing the most popular defensive skills. Because the monster damage nerf is bigger than the player nerf, players will actually see less incoming damage, so it's a net buff in the end. Now if your character already does not need defensive skills, and Inferno is no longer a challenge to you, fear not, Blizzard has already teased about a monster power system that will allow you to increase the level of challenge for an increased reward. Hopefully we will be seeing a dev journal of this new monster power system coming soon. Here are my opinions about this patch. By doing all these things to nerf Inferno and defensive skills, Blizzard basically is saying that Inferno level difficulty was an utter failure. The whole idea of only having a select group of players that can complete Inferno difficulty because they have the skill or the time to farm the gear rubbed the player base really the wrong way. Don't get me wrong, I really like these changes, as this will make Inferno accessible to more players, and having more players playing Diablo 3 is good for all of us. One concern I do have is Blizzard is making too many mechanical changes in one big patch. Right now we have 3 big changes going in: a monster resistance mechanic, a change to defensive skills, and a damage reduction on monsters. If all of these were going in at one time, it's going to confuse players, and the feedback may not be accurate on which one that they do or do not like. I would think that having small incremental changes would be better for getting the players adjusted to the new changes and also getting more accurate feedback. So having the monster resistance mechanic go out first, let the players get adjusted to that change, and also allow them to provide feedback on the change before moving on to the next change. Then 2 to 3 weeks later, apply the next change and allow players to adjust to that change along with the existing changes that are already incorporated into the game. The last comment that I have deals with hardcore, and I know we are a very small community, but right now none of these changes really help expand on the hardcore community. There is currently no incentive strong enough for me to want to play a public game in Inferno difficulty in hardcore, and I don't think the hardcore community can solve this problem. We're going to need some help from Blizzard in order to solve this. So at some point I hope Blizzard has enough time to look into this and make some changes for hardcore. That is it for today's preview. Thank you for your time, and to my subscribers, thank you for your support.